Hello, my name is Hector Velazquez and welcome to another episode of GCSA 8 Inside the Shop. In today's episode, we're going to grind our bed knife. Now, we're going to be talking about angles, top face and front face angles, what manufacturer recommends, and a lot of this stuff is going to be, I don't want to say controversial, but there's a lot of technicians out there that are passionate about the way they do things, and that's not to say that the way they do it is wrong or the way that I do it is the right way. What I want you to take out of this is you have to find your own ingredients for your golf course. Okay, these angles that these manufacturers give you are starting points. We have to understand that there's thousands of golf courses all over this world, and these angles are not going to work for every single golf course, right? So it's just like when you bake a cake, you got ingredients. That's just something to help you get started. You can add this and take away that, change that around. Okay, so it's the same thing with these angles, is they're just a starting point, and you can deviate from that a little bit, find out what works for your golf course, for your greens or your turf. Okay, so I'm not trying to say that these angles are what it has to be. It's just, these are just starting points, and you're going to have to find what works in your golf course for whatever type of conditions you have on your turf. And these angles may change 3 to 4 times in a season, depending on your course conditions. And that's something that you're going to have to find out as you get more experience on that particular golf course that you're at. Okay, so today we're just going to show you how I've been successful in my 25 years as an equipment manager on dealing with grinding reels and things like that. We're just going to touch on some basic stuff, right? There's a lot of rabbit holes that we can be jumping into, and we're just not going to do that in this. It'll just take too much time. So, and I'm already taking up too much time. So let's get this set up and we'll put it on the grinder and let's get this started. Now I just want to show you real quick the different bed knives that you're going to run into out there in the market. Now, what you want to know is, first know what height of cut you're going to be at, and then pick the knife accordingly. This knife is meant for higher heights of cut. Here we have a tournament knife to where you can get somewhere in the 110, 115 and higher. And then here we have the super thin bed knife where you can go as low as 0.85 in heights of cut and higher. So just make sure you're picking the right bed knife for the right height of cut that you're trying to get. Alright, we're going to reinstall our pivot bolts on our bed bar. I need these pivot bolts so that I can install my bed knife on my grinder. On this grinder they have what they call a V-pallet, and as you can see, the bed bar will mount using the V-pallets to this grinder. I'm going to tighten that down. It doesn't take much, just a nice little snug. It ain't going anywhere. Now, measuring the front face, as you can see from one V-pallet to the next, I'm within 1/1000th of an inch. Measuring the top face from one side of the V-pallet to the other, I'm also within 1/1000th of an inch. Now what that's going to do is I'm going to be able to grind both the front and the top face within 1/1000th of an inch, which is absolutely amazing, and that's really important. We'll talk more about that in future episodes. Now what I'm doing now is I am leveling my bed knife, and here we are. Now I'm just going to lock it down real quick. Now every knife after this is just going to mount right on. I like using a blue permanent marker with a fatty tip to mark my grind surface. Now what we're going to do is we're going to find the angle or see where that stone is hitting on this bed knife. I'm going to get my grinder head ready to make my adjustment, and just like how we talked about earlier. Alright, now manufacturers have angles that they recommend for their specific bed knife. Now while I'm getting my grinder ready here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the angle of this bed knife. Now I'm going to start off with what they recommend, and for the purpose of this video we're just going to use those same angles. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to lower the head and do a scratch test. I'm going to move it off, and as you can see, I'm scratching a little high on that bed knife. Now that'd be great if I'm wanting to achieve a more angle or more relief on that top face. Here I'm hitting a little low, I'm taking away relief. I probably don't want that. Now here we're hitting that surface nice and even. So I'm just going to go with that. And I'm going to do the same thing with the front face. Okay. Now, finding these angles, you can play with it. See what works on your golf course, on your type of grass, on the conditions of your golf course. None of this is absolute, okay? Play with it. Here we're hitting evenly. And for the most part, me personally, I usually kind of go with what's recommended. I might deviate by a few degrees here and there. Now notice, I'm only hitting on one side. That's why we always grind a new bed knife. A few moments later, and here we are. After a few moments, we're grinding cleanly across that bed knife. And here we know that that cut line is within 1/1000th of an inch to the pivot bolts. And that's why, my friend, the cut line is king. That's beautiful. Absolutely love it. Look at that. Really nice, clean, uniform. We used the Borazon. I like using the Borazon wheels. I've always used the Borazon wheel. They give me a nice cut. It's cool. And it gives me a pretty nice, almost mirror-like finish. And we're ready to get this bed bar installed onto our grinder. Well, I want to thank you for joining us here today on GCS AA Inside the Shop, where we're helping technicians one wrench at a time. And we'll see you next time where we're going to start grinding our reel. Have a good one.